that goes back to that message of we're here for them. And what now I want to kind of snowball back into that because, we brought that up when we first started. But, I almost think that conversation is it's foreign to me, just like it was to you guys when you had that conversation. And I don't really know why the fire service kind of has to redesign or redefine what the core mission is. I mean, there's always been flow path. Now it's a conversation called flow path, right? I mean, it's always been an issue. You vet here, fires goes here. Air moves, you do this, blah, 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 right? Now, we're here for them. No shit, we're here for them. Like, isn't from day one we were here for them, no?
That's right. We arrived on their fire truck. They just let us borrow it 24 hours a day, And the crew, when I was a captain, we always included the community at a fire. The kids, we let them play on the fire truck while we were loading hose. That's their fire truck. And we have to, and I don't know where we got away from putting them first. If you go to the grocery store, let a kid get on the fire truck. I liked fire trucks when I was a kid.
I agree.
It's theirs. And we have to get away from we're better than them. We're just servants. We're public servants that serve them daily. And I don't care if they call me to put their grandmother back in bed. I don't care if they call me for a sick call. I don't care if they call me for a fire. I'm their servant, and I should act that way.
So, anyway, Chief Mo Davis, what's up, my man?
Hey, man, how are you guys doing?
Fantastic. Thank you for joining us tonight during
drinking a beer.
Yeah, I'm actually doing a cold one too, Chief. I hope you have something to keep yourself hydrated. But, you're high on life, man. I love it. I'm telling you, I want to talk about this because thank you for hopping on tonight with us Sunday night, and so on. But this has been an interview I've been really looking forward to. We met a while back, but maybe Rob should get into that first. Rob and you had an encounter before I came along the line. So why don't we talk about Portland a little bit, or a little background on you, Chief, and then we could roll into how we got here tonight.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
All right, so I guess we'll start in Portland because that's kind of where this story for all of us began. Unbeknownst to me, the Chief and I were both invited out to FireX Talk that Michael Snodgrass does out in Portland, Oregon. And we on the flight out, there were two girls behind my wife and I who were talking about their dad as a fire chief. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. I was like, I wonder if they're going to the same conference. And I just kind of laughed, and we landed, and sure enough, they were there. And that's where I got to meet Chief Davis. And one of the interesting parts about this was it was myself, Chief Davis, Jim Oleski, and a guy from, I think, Missouri. I can't remember where he was from. And we did a group discussion to kind of get everything going on about who we were there for. And and they said, describe the them. And I'm like, what do you mean? And they're like, the them. And I'm like, you mean the people who call 911? And they're like, yeah. So the four of us are sitting in this thing, and we got a big pad of paper, and we got to write all this stuff down. And I said, I looked at Jim, and I was like, where are you from? He's like, Cherry Hill. And I'm like, all right, so I know you're about the people who are in the burning building,
right? Yeah, right.
And then I looked at the Chief, and I'm like, Chief, he's like, yeah, I mean, of course you're who else would we be there for? And then the guy from Missouri, I was like, you guys going to buildings to get people out? He's like, yeah. And I'm like, and that's kind of, we chuckled at it. And that's when we kind of all realized too, that there's a lot of people out there that are not about how the three of us in this podcast all view aggressive firefighting. And then the Chief gave an excellent class. You did aggressive command out in Portland, right? And then you had another class that you did as well for. I always get them confused which one was the opening and which one was the closing, but
yes, sir.
It was a good time.
My thing, Chief, I know we haven't even let you talk yet, and this is your podcast, you're the guest, but here's the thing, right? Rob and I, we're excited to have you on, and I'll tell you why. Our dealings, I met you down in Texas when we did the affordable drill tower training, and with Steve Sanguidoce through Affordable Drill Towers, and what a just an incredible weekend, and we're gonna talk about all that. But you were a gentleman that just stood out, and I want to hop into that. But before we even get there, I think Rob segued into a good conversation about for them. And before we get to them, let's talk about you for half a second, and then we're going to snowball right back into that, because I know you firmly believe in the customer service aspect, and we're there for them, and we're there for our own people too. So I want to hop into that. But Chief Mo Davis, give me a little rundown about yourself, brother. Thank you for joining us. Tell me who you are, where you come from, and why you're on here with us.
Man, I really appreciate it, first of all. And Mo Davis, Houston Fire Department. I've been there 25 years. I'm one of those lucky guys in the fire department. I came off the tower, went to a good station, kind of always stayed in busy districts and worked my way up through the ranks, and just had great mentors all the way. The senior guys, they just kind of took care of me. And so now I'm trying to give back, and it's been beat into me for 25 years that we are here for the people who call 911.
Absolutely.
And all this stuff that we're going through now, I just don't understand it. I mean, they're like this safety culture, and believe me, I want us to be safe, but man, we still gotta take care of people. We still have to go and burn in buildings. We still have to give them 110%. So things like this, I'm so excited about, because we all think the same.
Yeah.
And I wanted to get it out there to everybody that that's what we're here for. And so, that's kind of my upbringing in the fire department. My raising was around those guys who truly believed we're here for them. And I kind of live by that way. Never even think about retiring. Not one time have I thought about retiring. And, I'm really just getting ready to start my career, I think, and love it.
And that's what I love, man. When now is not the time to use this word, but man, when I saw you in Texas and we met, and we shared a lot of camaraderie over a couple of days.
We did.
And I walked away from that. The one word that just stuck with me, and I hate saying it now because of what's going on, but man, you're infectious. Your
Appreciate it.
Love for the job, your love for being a part of the brotherhood and the fire service is absolutely infectious. And I love that, man, because you know how many people aren't? You know how many people are just not enjoying it? When you just told me 25 years in and you're just starting, like, come on, man, that is a home run. I love that.
I can't wait to get to work tomorrow morning, and I'm working my part-time job tonight. So,
and the best part about that is the fact that, you're not in a sleepy company. You're not in a sleepy part of town where, you're going to work and you're putting in the time, and then you're coming home and, you're ready to go. I mean, you're putting in work.
Busiest district in the city. And
busiest district in the city.
And, I'll make a bunch of runs tomorrow, and I'm excited.
Oh, I love that. I absolutely love that. So when we were in Texas, right, and we're down there with Affordable Drill Towers, it was a weekend of training, and it was lectures, and it was hands-on with the tower. I have to say that, I sat through your class, and I want to talk about all of that as well. But my most memorable moment of that was, and I think this kind of sums up the attitude and the mentality you have about the job, and just sums up who you are as an inspiration for many in the fire service, was you came right off the training ground and you were so excited to get started in your lecture that you wore your turnouts during the lecture. You came in and still had your boots and your bunker pants on, and you hopped up in front of all of us. And that room was stacked. I mean, if you think about like the people, right? The people that we surrounded ourselves with that weekend were the cream of the crop, right? I mean, what a great group of guys.
No, I agree.
I'm happy to say that we're all still very much in touch with each other. Through that group text and everything, which is just so cool, But I think, I always talk about surround yourself with like-minded people. If you put yourself with like-minded people, good things are going to happen.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. 100%. And, our quick hitches, our turnout pants is our suit. It's, that's what we do. That's what we wear. And
what do you call them? Quick? What is that? Quick hitches?
Quick hitches. Yeah, that's what we call it. Quick hitches. So your turnout pants is your quick hitches. So
that's fantastic.
Yeah, and and I kind of grew up this way in the fire service. If someone ever took time to tell me something, I took time to listen.
Yeah.
So now, if someone's going to take time to listen, I'm going to give them 110% for 5 minutes. And so there was no way I would have slowed down and taken that off and put my my pants back on and go in there. I wanted to get in there before someone lost interest. So yeah, that's just that's in a nutshell.
Well, Chief, nobody's losing interest in your class. I'll tell you right now, man. I sat through it. I've sat through a lot of classes over my years, and a lot of them are sleepy. The energy you brought that day, and it was a small regional training center, so it's not like the room was full with a couple hundred people. I mean, you found energy with the few people that were in the room,
Right.
including the instructors, and the energy you brought was just infectious. It really was. I mean, that's the word that just keeps coming up. It's like I want to catch that, and I want to be sure that I'm judging myself against Mo Davis. Do I have the energy he has? Do I have the desire and drive that he does? And if I don't, let's go pick up your game. I love it.
I think one of the things that I enjoyed about the class, and just from like being out in Portland and meeting you again out in Texas,
Yeah.
like there's this like mindset when you start moving up the ranks, you get past captain, you get up to chief, and whatever that role is, like all of a sudden the fun stops.
Yeah.
And like you've got to take on this different persona and personality. And you very much in that class were like, no, like this is like you had a picture. This is me with a pack on, because if I'm needed, I'm going.
Yeah.
And like there was a picture I remember of you, and you said, I'm gonna look like I'm hugging the guy, but
Yeah.
I'm not. I'm telling him you're getting it. And like it was, I don't want to say it went against a lot of the things that I've been taught in command classes, but it was like it's what actually should be taught in command classes, because there's no way that you can I shouldn't say there's no way. It's very difficult to run a dynamic incident by sitting back 300 feet away from the scene in a car somewhere at a command post that you've established, and not have your eyes on the people. And I love that your class really like just focused on that.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And, I believe that in, Houston Fire Department, the Mike Phillips, the John Millers, those guys are who I look up to and mentor, and they're like that. If something needs to be done, those guys are going to do it.
Yeah.
And those guys didn't take, and I tell people this a lot, and I know it sounds corny, but it's true. We don't take tests to do less. We take tests to do more. And I honestly believe that chiefs that are involved in the incident, that's up close to the incident, makes things safer. And because you get a feeling what's going on. And that was the guys who taught me through the years. And I carry that on, that I don't like sitting in a car. I can't get the feeling. And I hope that other people start changing and get that. But that is true. If we call a Mayday, if we call it a RIT, we have to be ready to go just like anyone else. And if I ever get tired of putting my gear on, it's probably time to retire. And so, and I like it, and I know this goes against everything in the safety manual, but I'm okay with a dirty helmet. You're working if you have a dirty helmet. So I'm okay with it. And so
Chief, the one thing that really stands out, though, and I agree with you, you got 25 years in some of the busiest sections of Houston Fire Department. All of that 25-year knowledge is wrapped up in your brain and in your hands. And to now take that and put that 300 feet away from the scene in a command role that's not in tune with the tempo of the fire ground, right? Because so much is done on the fire ground, and the feeling of the fire ground is not talked about. It's just felt. You feel what's going on. You feel the tempo. You can see the anguish, or you can see the look in their eyes. You understand, and you're connected. There's a lot of different ways to run.
Very palpable.
Yeah. There's a lot of different ways to run a command structure, but the one thing I really took from you was the fact that we can't get away from the feel. We can't get away from the tempo and really the common sense of the fire ground.
That's right. That's true. You can see it. And if you truly, and I think chiefs should, or all officers, you have to know your crews. You have to know them personally. You have to know their families. And you can see if they're excited, or you can see if they're worried. And then if you're there, you can catch on with this. And and to get off the subject a little bit, I look at three things on every fire. The line, I want to see it moving. I look at the color of the smoke, and I watch the roof. I'm a safety guy watching the roof, make sure it doesn't fall on these guys. And then you throw that in. If I'm on a porch and someone comes out that I know that's a calm, cool guy, and he's excited, well, I know something's not going right. So I feel that's why we have to get involved. But you're exactly right. We have to get that feel. It's like that. It's the sixth sense of a fireman, and you just get that. You just know if it's going good or not.
Yeah, and that just comes with experience.
Yes, sir.
I mean, that's it. And, you know, a lot of times we take our experience and then we put them in positions that doesn't allow them to really use their experience.
Yeah, that's true. And you know something, I think officers need to take a step back sometime and listen to that senior guy. That senior guy has so much experience. And the senior, and I think in Portland, I told a story about Chili when I was on a rescue truck. We were on the second floor of a church fire, and he told me to cut a hole in the floor to find the fire. Now, that goes against everything you've heard, but Chili said it was okay. And guess what? We did it and it worked out.
That Chili was right.
Yeah, Chili was right because you know Chili's like a 42-year pipeman
That's
at the fire station in the city. So guess what I did? I cut a hole in with a battery operated skill saw, and it was running the floor joist like Chili said. So you know we have to take our way out, and we have to listen to the guy that's got more experience than us. Yeah.
You know, one of the things I really enjoyed about what we did in Portland was you doing the count and
Yes.
saying, everybody hold your breath, and doing the whole, hey, Houston Fire Department, what's the
I saw that.
location of your emergency and
Yeah.
stuff. And I think that's such a great visualization for a class, because like that whole hold your breath and see how long you can hold it before they even got all the information, everybody's taking that first breath of air, and you come back to that whole like, hey, this is that, you know, that gulp of smoke or whatever else that person don't have that time. So
Right.
it's just a very good, powerful visualization and tool to use in the classroom. And I thought that was.
Thank you. And it's true. I mean, when the booper goes off, we have to be fast.
Yeah.
Because it's you know.
But I think that goes back to that message of we're here for them. And what now I want to kind of snowball back into that because, you know, we brought that up when we first started, but, you know, I almost think that conversation is it's foreign to me, just like it was to you guys when you had that conversation. And I don't really know why the fire service kind of has to redesign or redefine what the core mission is. I mean, you know, there's always been flow path. Now it's a conversation called flow path, right? I mean, you know, it's always been an issue. You vet here, fires goes here. Air moves, you do this, blah, 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 right? Now, you know, we're here for them. No shit, we're here for them. Like, isn't from day one we were here for them, no?
That's right. We ride on their fire truck. They just let us borrow it 24 hours a day, you know. And the crew, when I was a captain, we always included the community at a fire. The kids, we let them play on the fire truck while we were loading hose. That's their fire truck. And
Yeah.
we have to, you know, and I don't know where we got away from putting them first. If you go to the grocery store, let a kid get on the fire truck. I liked fire trucks when I was a kid.
I agree.
It's theirs. And we have to get away from we're better than them. We're just servants. We're public servants that serve them daily. And I don't care if they call me to put their grandmother back in bed. I don't care if they call me for a sick call. I don't care if they call me for a fire. I'm their servant, and I should act that way. And it's just, you know.
Yeah, no, I agree, Chief. I agree 100%. I think, though, we've gotten to this place in life, and not just in the firehouse, but just in general, where typically we put ourselves before others. And
Yes.
it's just, you know, I know just as a father of, you know, 4 children, like 4 kids, you know, understanding and knowing and teaching them that, you know, we are to look out for others, and it's okay to put others before yourself, right? I don't know how many times we're having that conversation anymore.
Yeah, and we discussed it when you were in Texas.
Right.
Well,
let's talk it, Chief. Would you mind expanding on that a little bit? Because I know that you're pretty passionate, like I am, about that. You know, I think that conversation needs to keep being talked and discussed. I mean, we were talking about firehouse culture. We're talking about meals and chores and all of that stuff, right? I mean, let's talk about all this.
we have to get back to loving each other. And we have to, you know, we talk about the brotherhood. We talk about that brotherhood a lot, but you know,
sounds good.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Brotherhood is real whenever someone's down on their luck, you know, and we have to all chip in. And we've gotten away from that somewhere. And I don't know how we got away from it, but we've got to bring that back. And, you know, the good guys always have it. The good guys always will. And we take the brotherhood, and I don't want anybody, any fireman to get hurt. I don't want any more line of duty deaths, but we know that's going to happen. So we have to take care of each other by our training, by knowing each other, and making ourselves, building backup procedures and our tactics to make sure we're safe, because we still have to go and burn in buildings. You know, the virus that's going on now, we still have to respond to take care of those people. That's our duty. So we have to put in safety features to do that. And then we have to watch out for each other. And there's no ego when it comes to watching out for each other. And, you know, officers, and I always say this, and it makes a lot of people mad. The biggest problem in the fire service is at your chief's level. So we've got to get away from that. We've got to put ourselves back in the shoes of firefighters, and we've got to put our shoes back into the workers and make it better for them and show them you care. And then that return, it comes back to you.
I love the fact too. I mean, how about the fact that just because you're a chief, you're still a firefighter?
Yeah, still.
Right? Like, I think you almost get this disconnect, right? I mean, I love going to jobs and seeing chiefs pack up. I love seeing chiefs and work in different divisions and, you know, work in different parts of the fire ground. And you see a white hat on air. I'm like, this is a home run. I love this.
It's what we're supposed to do.
Yeah, I agree.
You can't ask someone to do something that you're not willing to do.
Yep.
If I'm not willing to go in and search, if I'm not willing to go and squirt water, I'm not willing to cut a hole, well, then I shouldn't ask anyone else. And so I think when we do that, guys know it. You know, at my station, we can ride down one, ride up. So at mealtime, if the pump or the truck's getting hammered and a booper goes off, well, I'll jump on that and everybody will just ride up. So I'll take a run on the pumper for the captain. That's what I'm supposed to do. That's the brotherhood, right?
That's fantastic.
Yeah, that's what we're supposed to do that.
And
Rob, that happens by you, right?
Oh, yeah, all the time. But like, what a great message that sends to the captain too, because that captain knows that you trust him enough that if something happens, like he can fill your spot. And I think that says, like, I know as a quote unquote junior officer, like that means a lot to the officer, being like, hey, I got this. Like, take a minute, and if something happens, I'll get there eventually. Just, you know, do the thing. It's kind of like, whoa, this guy's giving me this responsibility, and, you know, and I'm gonna not let him down. Yeah. So and it just helps drive him too.
I love letting a junior guy ride the front seat every once in a while, so I don't have to. I'll ride the back step. I have no problem in the back step. I love that, man. I love taking a junior kid and putting him up front in the officer's seat and let him be the acting for a bullshit call. Give him that feel. Give him that experience.
That's right. Hey, you know what happens when you do that? You get back to your roots and you appreciate what he does, and then he appreciates what you do, and then everybody's better off.
Yeah, you know, my favorite thing, Chief, is the back seat. I always sit on the door, and the other guys in the back that, you know, they've all learned this lesson. You know, I'm on the door, they hop in, and I go, climb over me, and they go, just slide over. I go, no, you don't slide over. You never slide over. And the young kids, they look at you. Why won't you slide over? I go, because I got to be the first one out of the rig pulling that knob. I go, like, the man in the middle loses, man. Like, you got to ride the rail, you know. You got to ride that door. You're the first one out of the rig, man. Come on. It's common sense.
Yeah. It's like you never give up the nozzle. You just tell me where you want it. I won't take it there. Yeah.
Tell me where you want it. I'll get it there for you. No problem.
Somehow I'll do that.
But I love that conversation, and I think that's a testament to how you are. And I think it's fun. I had a conversation earlier today. We did an interview with somebody the other day. And it just got posted, and I had somebody call me, a buddy of mine. He goes, man, I listened to that podcast. It was awesome. He goes, I would love that guy to be my boss. I would love that guy to be my boss.
Great comment.
What a great comment, right? It speaks volumes to that guy and the type of guy he is. I don't think there's enough of that. I don't think there's enough of that going around where guys are like, hey, man, I want to work for him. I want that guy. I just there's a big disconnect these days, man. There's a big disconnect from the top down.
And I don't know when it happened. And when it happened, but you know what? I don't think we're so far gone that we can't fix it. You know, guys like us.
Talk about that. I agree with you. I agree.
And you know what? It's fixable, first of all. Secondly, we have to fix it. You know, I think, and at an officer level, the officer has to always fight up. You never fight down. You always fight up to take care of your guys. And when you do that, you become one of them, and that's the way we're going to save this. Whenever guys start worrying about their career and their future more than the department, you lose. Yeah. And we have got to get back to that, because when I got in the fire department, you know, we might mess with someone in our station or our district, but no one else was. And we've got to get back to that. Like, you want to go to that district next to you and go to work. And that comes from us just getting back to the basics and caring about each other, training together. I don't understand why chiefs and officers feel like they don't need to train. Yeah, you need to train. And, but it's not too late. We can fix it. And I think stuff like what you guys are doing, I think what we did in Texas,
Yeah.
I mean, there were some legendary people there.
Absolutely.
And I was in the back of the room in awe. That's how we're going to save the fire service. And
I offered to carry everybody's luggage on that trip. I was like, listen, the next time we do this conference, I go, if you don't need my services, that's fine. I'll just come and carry luggage and be a wallflower. You know what I mean? Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, I'll help Chris out in the van.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, we went to that party that night, right? That happy hour. And I mean, the camaraderie between all of us was instant. And I think it was instant because, again, like-minded people, you get good results. And, I want to take that group. I want to bottle up that energy, right? And then I just want to throw it out there and let people understand that, one, it's okay to have that energy. It's okay to be into the job.
Yes.
It's okay to love what we do, and it's okay to love a brother.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And that's the fire service, we preach it. Now we just got to live it, and living it is exactly what you said. It's just, and it's okay. It's okay to love the job.
We have a tremendous job right now, though, educating the new coming into this job, right? We have a big job ahead of us and we have a big job right now to educate them. I mean, I want to go back a little bit because 25 years in, Chief, and some of the busiest companies in Houston. I mean, you guys see a lot of work. You've worked with a lot of hard-hitting guys, I'm sure. But your upbringing in the firehouse. Maybe you can give me a little background on your upbringing in the firehouse. I mean, what it was like to be a pro 25 years ago in some of the busier companies. It had to shape your mentality, right? It had to shape who you are.
It really did. I worked for two really good chiefs, Richard Lemoyne and Fred Hooker. And those guys really loved the fire service. And they were hard. They were mean. They were old salty guys. But they were okay because they watched you and made you comfortable. And then you come to the captain's level. I worked under Captain Jenkins, and most everybody on Facebook stuff, they know Captain Jenkins. And Captain Jenkins really cared about us. And he trained us hard in every aspect. He got a bad rap many years for training. And then I had J.D. Curtis, who was an old Vietnam vet, who was just like the father figure to you, would bring you back to earth. If the world was crashing down around you, he would bring you back to reality. And then I had the senior guys like Tommy Scott, who really taught us more than just the fire service. Mr. Scott actually taught us how to be human beings in the fire service. And then you got the likes of Jerry Turner. When I first came in, they made us go to paramedic school, and I hated it. But then we could go ride for people. And Jerry Turner opened up his station to me and trained me like nobody else could do. And right. So I took everything those guys did and balled it up into a big ball. I still call these guys. There's a Captain Davis who's been retired for several years. If I'm having an issue, I will call him and I'm like, hey, am I doing this right? Tell me what you think. Or, and so it's a big family, and we've got to get back to the kitchen table every night, and we were making, 20, 27 runs a day. We would sit at the kitchen table and we learned and we talked. I think I told you guys out there why we chose ramen noodles. I don't know, but we drank coffee and ate ramen noodles and told I don't even know why, but we did. And, and like the group we had, and we text almost daily.
Yeah.
So I can text you guys. I can text someone in California. I can text someone in New York. And you know what? We all think the same.
Yeah.
It may be a different structure, maybe a different response, but we all think the same. And that's the shaping of the fire service. And you had a discussion, it was late one night, about the millennials. So I think we can bridge that gap.
I do too. I do too.
Computer guy. So these guys can take me beyond where I ever wanted. And then I can take them on my upbringing, my rural upbringing. We can kind of meet in the middle and we can make something better than we ever were. So I think we need to spend time with them. We can't cut them off and just say, well, he's a millennial, he doesn't get it. No, we just got to work a little bit harder. And I think we've got to meet them halfway because they've got a lot to bring to the table.
I think the minute we give up on the millennials, we're giving up on the fire service, and I think that's part of the problem, because and Jeremy always says it, like the challenge is to get people to engage them, and they'll say something like, oh, they're always in their phones, and then we'll point out that they're like the senior man's just as much involved in their phone as
Yes.
that young firefighter. But like if you bridge those gaps and you get that older person in the fire service together with that younger person, you're right, we can really make something happen. I mean, that's essentially what we're doing here with National Fire Radio. And one aspect is we're getting the message out to the younger people. But I think in firehouses across the country and across the world, that happens. That's a win for everybody. It's a home run.
I think the word engagement needs to be discussed consistently, because engagement comes down to this: the senior man, if he engages, people will listen. People get in. People want to be a part of it. It's easier these days to be distracted or sidetracked, or it's easier to write it off saying, well, they're not interested anyway, so I'm just going to go about my own business. Bullshit. I call bullshit. I'll say bullshit every single time. The senior guys are getting lazier, and because of laziness, it becomes complacency, and then it's easier to point the finger and blame. And we have a harder time more than ever. We have to work twice as hard than we ever did to educate the new. Yes. We have an obligation. But Chief, something you said, I want to go back to it though. You said even today, those guys were your mentors, if you will, right? Mentors, meaning you could call them today and you could say, hey, Jim, Jerry, Bob, whatever, right? Like, hey, did I handle this right? This one's been on my brain. I'm trying to think if I went about it the right way. I'm wondering now though, do the kids in the firehouse today, the 10-year and under, 5-year and under, do these guys have mentors? Do they have mentors that they can lean on for advice or opinion, or are they leaning on each other and that becomes the bitch and moan session and not a constructive fix or a constructive conversation? I've never talked about this before. This just dawned on me now.
So I'm very lucky. In my station, I have those senior guys that still care. The Dustin Grays, he's a pipeman at one of the busiest stations, the Wally Hayeses, a pipeman. Those guys are out there every day with the young guys. The captains are out there 90% of the time, but that extra 10% is those guys. And we were out a few months ago out just cutting wood, showing a rookie how to cut wood. And those senior pipemen were just over and over and over reps. So I'm very lucky and I think our young guys could call them at any moment. And you know what? The reverse, those guys are my mentors too.
Right.
Ask them. And believe me, I do. And we have a seating assignment at our station. I sat by them. And the conversations we have, I learn from them. And,
seating assignment at what? The kitchen table?
Yeah.
I love that.
There's so much that you can do. And at night, the guy that drives me, his name's Frank. He cooks popcorn every night. No big deal, popcorn. We sit around and we talk because we're not only firemen, we're also friends.
Yeah.
And we care about each other, and we care about the district wide, and hopefully that's contagious that goes out. But
it's not really the popcorn, it's the conversation.
It is.
It's, something like that where you can introduce it. You make it a tradition to have Frank has popcorn every night on tour. The guys know that, well, if you smell the popcorn, it's time for conversation.
Yes, sir. Come sit down.
I love that.
And you know what? Everybody has free say. We learn from the young guys, just like the old guys. The senior man will say something. The young guys will say something. The officers just kind of sit back and take it all in. And I'll tell you something else we do. Captain Mario and Captain Schroeder's really good about this. They assign the young guy a class. And it's not just stand up there and read. It's actually they put PowerPoints together. Or we may go out and Captain Schroeder and Captain Mario out of their own pocket built a ventilation prop. So we'll go buy a bunch of plywood, and it's the responsibility of one of the young guys to teach it. Well, then all of a sudden you'll notice the senior guy who has brought that guy up is like within arm's length from him. And if he forgets something, he's not going to let him look bad because that's his. You know what I mean?
I love it.
That's
some extreme ownership right there.
It is. That's what we're about. Because if we do all of this, when those poor people, and I've worked in poor neighborhoods my entire career, they can count on us because we count on each other. And when we all come together, you know, it's kind of like one big thinking, and that's the bottom line. And I think we've got to get away from hurry up getting back to the station. Like, I don't know why officers and chiefs have to hurry up, get in their cars and go back to the station. Man, hang out at the fire during overhaul and give a class. This is what happened. This is why. This is what we did. This is why. Before you know it, it's going to trickle down to those the millennials that we're talking about. And guess what? Everybody's working together. If I ever get too good to shovel at overhaul, then what does that say to the young guy? So yeah, it's working. It's working. And I think it's like everything else. We always hear the bad stuff. We never hear the good stuff.
True.
And we have a lot of good, man. We have a lot of good. And so.
And that's it, man. Like your face right now, just beaming with the excitement of the good. And I think you need to get your message out there more. I can't wait to see your class take off across this country. And
appreciate it.
No, I mean that, brother, because, it's exciting. We need more people to discuss the good. I mean, there's a lot of people out there talking about training and technique and this and that, and guys eat that up, right?
Yeah.
Guys typically shy away from conversations of promoting the wellness, promoting the culture and tradition. Like, no, we're fine. Yeah. And then I get, messages. I get messages all the time from young kids in the fire service that are disgruntled. They're put down. They're trying to make a change. They're trying to push and make themselves better, make the department better, but they're getting resistance from, the rank and file all the way up through the chiefs. And so on. And this is a constant struggle for a lot of these kids. And you have a lot of people out there that are trying to make this thing good. They're trying to better themselves in their department and trying to be the best they can and emulate guys like yourself that are sharing a good word. And then you get the naysayers. Yeah. It's a tough battle right now. It's a tough battle. But I love the excitement you have to say that the good is still here. I believe that wholeheartedly. I mean, that's why we did this. That's why we started this thing 2 years ago, because if this thing was dead, dying, or done, I wouldn't waste my time.
Yeah.
I wouldn't waste my time.
I think this was, and I'm not saying this because I'm on here. I think we said this when we were in San Marcos. This is how we're saving it. You guys taking your time. And, I know you guys have jobs, and I have a job, and everybody has a job, but it's important to you. And, we're reaching a lot of people. And if those young guys are contacting you and me and stuff like that, well, we're really winning. Because who cares if somebody's got a bad attitude to fire service? We're just going to march around them. We don't care.
It, man. That's it.
Just let them go.
I had a fantastic back and forth, and if you don't mind, I just want to hop into it real quick. Last night, I had a good back and forth with a kid on Instagram direct message last night. And I'll tell you, man, he was so appreciative of what I said to him. But basically, he said he's in a department where he's struggling, and he gets his balls broken religiously for trying to throw ladders and better himself and stretch lines with the younger guys. And because of the trickle down from the higher ups to the lower kids are afraid to push themselves because they're going to get their balls broken just like this kid is. And so he's really in a tough spot. And I basically told them, sometimes shitty part is you can't affect change. However, it doesn't mean that you don't have to compromise your position or give up pushing yourself to be better. And I go on and on to talk about it. But I said, if they're letting you down, then you got nothing to worry about. You push yourself and it's infectious. I said, people want to surround themselves with goodness. They want to surround themselves with positive. And, you'll see, I said, you will affect change by pushing yourself to be better. Keep pushing yourself and don't let these mutts bring you down.
100%.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times people make changes when they make rank to justify themselves being a load when they were younger. So that guy you're talking about, he's an ace. And I promise you those guys, if a roof falls on them, they want him coming to get them.
Hell yeah. I agree with you 100%, man. It's funny. We do a lot of departmental visits where we go in and, we'll get invited in by a couple guys in the department, and they're like, hey, we want to show off this. We want to talk to you guys, whatever. So we go in and we go to these different departments, and we go through their trucks and their equipment, how they stretch lines and how they do this and that, all these little tips, tricks, and hacks that we talk about. And then we start getting on the culture and tradition conversation. It typically happens out in the bay or in their kitchen. And the senior guy is always off in the corner doing his own thing, wants nothing to do with us. He thinks we're hokey. He's like, I'm just not into this. in about 15, 20 minutes into the conversation, he's standing right next to me talking. And it happens every single time because it is infectious. You know, the positivity, when you're there to affect change, when you're there for the betterment and the right reasons, it doesn't matter if it's the new kid or the cranky old guy. The cranky old guy still hops in every single conversation that I have in any firehouse. They still hop in at the end because they realize it's better. This is good. It's happening.
It is.
So,
It is.
yeah.
And, you know, that's we talked about at the very beginning of the show. It's the brotherhood. Nobody wants to see their brother suffer. You know, and sister too. You know, throw them in there. Hey, we're going to win this. We're in a little swamp right now. You know, all this stuff that they went through. We're strong. The fire service is strong. You know, and I watch stuff daily. You know, Boston, New York. You know, and I watch small towns. We're still the ones they call.
Absolutely.
And you and people listening, think about this, especially the young guys. The love of your life is your child or your mom or your dad or your wife. But when we show up, they give them to us. That says something. That means something to me. And I refuse to let those people down. I can go into a station and nobody wants to do something. I refuse to let them pull me down because those people, you know, they're having their worst day. They don't care what kind of day we're having.
That's right.
We can't have a bad day. We have good days every day. And because, like I just said, they give us the most precious thing in their life. They give to us and say, fix it. We have to.
I love that.
That's in a show.
And what I love about that, Chief, because we're talking about the people we serve and the people that rely on us every single day. But the other thing about yourself, too, which I absolutely love and I admired during our conversations down in Texas when I got to know you, was the fact that you believe wholeheartedly in letting your people work.
Yes.
Trusting your own people.
Let them go.
Let them go. Let them go. Let's talk about that a little bit. I know, you know, being a hands-on incident commander on the fire ground, you know, you're still in an operations role, if you will. You're still calling the ball and calling the plays, if you will, on the field at the fire ground, typically, right? Some of the stories you were sharing, you know, peeking your head on the inside to make sure you're checking conditions while your guys are working above and so on, like all of that. So you're a real hands-on part of the command staff, if you will. But something you really talked about that I don't think enough people talk about is letting their own people work. Trust your people. You mind talking about that for a little bit?
Actually, and Chief, could you like let us know where the trust comes from? Because I think like that's what like we'd say like, hey, trust your own people. And that's a good thing we can put up. I got to make a slogan of that, sell a sign or something like that. But like, where does the trust come from when you're coming to work and you're like, all right, this company's here, and I don't have to worry because like that trust comes from where?
That's good, Rob.
It comes from me getting out of my office and me stop thinking I'm better than they are. It's me getting out there while they're training. When I'm out there watching those guys train, and we have standard procedures that we have built in, a backup line, for example. And so I know that backup line is going to work the same every time, no matter who pulls it on the four stations I have in my district. And that comes from me getting out of the office and being involved. And I think if we train good at the station in non-emergency situations, there's no training going on in the fire ground. You give an assignment and they do the assignment and you've watched them enough to know that they're going to accomplish it. And then that backup line is going to protect that first line. No matter what happens, you've got trust in him because you spent time with him and watched. And so it's something else I don't do. I don't believe in talking on the radio a lot. You know, there's too much going on. An officer's watching his guys in there. He's leading his guys in there. And I shouldn't be asking him for a can report every 30 seconds. If I'm watching the roof, the line, and the smoke, I know the can because I can see it. And that comes because I get out of my office and get involved. And that's where the trust comes from. When you see these guys every day, and we have a really good schedule in Houston, and we train every day at the station. Sunday, we train. Saturday, we train. We train every day on something. And so if I get out of my office and get down there and watch them, that's where the trust comes from. Sure. And then if you give an assignment, you know that's going to happen. And that's, and I think, and that's the fire department I grew up in, you know. You know, and I talked about Mike Phillips earlier. I was riding safety officer. It's been about a year or so back, and I made a fire. Most people would have just wrote this off. Chief Phillips is standing right there by the door. I walk up and say, anything, Chief? He said, no, these guys are going to get in a second. Man, I look up this big old Chief's door. Wow. So anyway, so I do a 360. I go open up the back door, make sure they can get out if an emergency happens. What do? I bump into a guy doing a search. I said, man, everything good? He goes, yeah, man, I almost got the first floor done. So by the time I get back around where Chief Phillips is at, no radio communication, no talk. He told him what to do. I said, hey, Chief, it looks like they're getting it. And so the fire and the black smoke's turning white by now. He said, Mo, just turn the dogs loose and it's going to get okay. So I said, man, I'm going to remember that. So if you ever want to talk to a great guy, Mike Phillips is like a living legend.
I love that.
And yeah, there's no telling how many people he's rescued. And but that's what you got to do. But he does the same thing. He gets out and trains with his guys. And you're good guys, you know. And I missed him earlier. Your John Millers, your Jerry Turners, your Tim Dunns. Those guys are out on their hands and knees in quick hitches training with the guys because they're not better than them. They're just part of the little team. So that's how you trust them. You just get out and do it.
Yeah, but it's also empowering them too, right? I mean, it's really pushing them to be better, right? Because, you know, we've all worked for shitty managers. We've all worked for, you know, bad bosses that didn't really promote. And so, you know, without their push, it was that self-drive, right? We had to push ourselves to say, hey, we got to be better than this. Mediocre is not satisfying.
You're right. We set district standards here. You know, the city standards are here. They'll hire whoever. But the district standards are here. We never lower those. And it's, you know, and it's okay to tell somebody they have to go somewhere else if they don't meet those standards.
Oh, I love that. You talked about that, and I think that's a fantastic conversation because I think we shouldn't have to surrender or sacrifice any part of our culture.
No.
No. I mean, there was a culture that was there before you walked in those doors. And then we continue to build that culture and make it better, stronger, and you know, more proud for ourselves to be there. I think company pride is so important. I think the second due engine beating the first due engine in is good competition, and it's not sour grapes, man. You got to be on your game.
That's right. That's exactly right. And you know, and we have to take it one step further too. We have to pay tribute to the ones that come before us.
Sure.
Because they passed it down to me and you. And I think me and you probably think the same. We've got to pass it down to them. And guess what? A little bit of that legacy of the guys who taught us is going to carry on. And you have to have that competitive spirit. You know, and I think I talk about aggressive. People doesn't like the word aggressive. Well, I'm just the opposite. I want the most aggressive son of a gun in town working with me because that's the guys that are going to come get you.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I want to work. Listen, if they're talking about you,
yeah,
they're talking about you, right? They're talking about you for a reason.
That's right. That's right.
I want some of the hardest hitting guys to be on my team, and typically those hard hitting guys are the guys that are going to be outspoken, are the guys going to be out front, they're the guys that are going to be reprimanded for being too aggressive. You know,
I'm okay with that.
As I want
daily. I don't care. It doesn't cost me anything to go downtown. I go downtown and get one. I come right back and do the same thing. Hey, you know, Captain Dugan told me the one thing he misses from retirement, and he goes, man, I don't know if you can explain it right. He said, but it's them old snotty fires that we used to make. And I'm thinking to myself, man, we're 1,600 miles away. We like the same thing. I like the dirty face. You know, that's what we're supposed to.
I love that.
Hey, you know, a couple things. This will never be a clean job. This will never be a totally safe job. We just try to make it as good as we can. And we do that by training. And when we train hard and we build in safety features, when those safety features are what making us safe, that's our safety culture. It's not standing outside squirting water, doing survivability profiles and riding people off. You know, and I know you heard this a couple of weeks ago. Someone lived in a house fire for 38 minutes and they survived once they got them out. That's telling me we've got to get in and get people. People live in buildings all the time. So,
yeah, it's important to discuss. I think too, you know, myself, I know I enjoy empowering the guys coming up, right? And when we talk about company culture, building and maintaining the traditions and educating our own about that culture of your district or your company, right? And that it's okay to be aggressive. I love that. And I love being a part of that conversation and instilling that because, we can teach and we can train. I just saw a great conversation the other day, a great piece on social media, and I'm drawing a blank, but basically it was, I'm trying to think, FDNY, big rescue guy, big mustache, said it in a quote, and it said something about we can teach you through training. We can train you everything you need to know. All I need you to have when you come into our company is brains and balls.
Yeah.
Right? All the other stuff can be taught.
Yeah.
But we got to be able to promote heart, and we got to promote balls, guts.
Yes.
The ability to take initiative, the ability to be able to do your job based upon the tools we give you to do that job. But you still have to have it inside. I'm a firm believer not everybody can be a fireman.
No, I agree, 100%. People can
it's just like I'm never going to be a concert pianist or play basketball or whatever. I mean, God didn't make me 6'9" and and I could dribble a ball. So you know what I mean? So I inherently believe though that the best of the best in this industry are guys that inherently were designed to be firemen. And I don't think everybody has it in them to be a firefighter. I just don't.
I agree. It's you can teach the basics, but the love, the brotherhood, the heart, this is going to sound bad, but knowing that you would give up your life for someone else is rare. And I won't say his name because he never wanted anyone to know this because he felt like it was bragging. But one of my old officers was looking for a firefighter whose roof fell on him. Well, they found him after some time, and he said, "Hey, I'm going to go get some help." And the guy was burnt real bad. He said, "Man, don't leave me." And that captain goes, "I got to go get a line and get back." He goes, "Man, please don't leave me." And so my old officer said he sat down by him and said he looked up. When he looked up, he said, "Just rolling orange." And he said he felt what he was feeling. And he said, but he said this, I got cold chills. I wish you were here to see it. He said he wasn't going to let him die by himself. And man, I tell you what, that guy was really something to me. He retired. And I wish I could tell you his name, but when he told that story, he said, "Man, don't tell a lot of people because they'll think it's bragging." He said, "But then your worth." And probably 10 years ago, he told me that, and I tell that story all the time. But he said, your worth when you said, I won't let him die by himself." Man, that's
wow.
Yeah, and a good guy. He's a legendary guy. Yeah, so. If he hears this, he'll know who he is.
That's good. I mean, he should be recognized because I think more people need to hear that story. And I think, I don't know how many, I like to think that all the guys I ride with are understanding and would be in that same situation if they had to be, right? And so on. That's incredible. I don't know. I get like, we were talking about I'd carry everybody's luggage if we do that and so on. I still get starstruck with this job. Like I still, there's, go ahead, brother, because you're chomping over there. I love it.
Yeah.
But I do. I think like this for me, I'm like a kid in a candy store, man. I mean, that's partly why we started National Fire Radio, man. I created a platform where I get to talk to people and interview people and hear stories. Like I love storytelling. I can sit around and have a cold one and tell stories but more importantly, listen to the stories. I think the stories are so important because all stories bring a message and typically a lesson with them. And when we have the ability to capture the stories of Chief Mo Davis and all these other guys that we've been able to interview over the years now, to me, man, it's just such a testament to what the fire service is all about and why it's so important to do that. And I like to think that people will get value out of that and that the young kid that's missing that in the firehouse that he's in might be able to listen to Mo Davis tonight and take something away from that, knowing that the job is good and he's got to find where the job is good.
I hope one person is a success. And you hit the nail on the head. It's the best job in the world. I don't care what anybody says. With all the tragedies we go through, anybody knows Houston Fire Department,
you guys have had a lot of tragedy. Yeah.
You've put the collateral up, that's for sure.
I love it. I love the job. And I loved everybody that I've ever been associated with that's led me to my career. And I was attending a class the other day. I still attend a lot of classes. I was tending the class, and a guy said, "Hey man, who's the top 4 you wanted to come get you?" Picked up my phone, I text all 4 of them. I said, "Hey, just to let you know, I'm in a class." And you know what? A lot of people thinks it's weird to brag on people that you respect and brag on people. Man, I'm just the opposite. I want everybody to know what those guys mean to me.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm comfortable in my manhood. I don't
But
care. Yeah,
Chief, I think that's part of the conversation. Like, I'm super comfortable with who I am too, and that's why I have no problem telling and talking and doing what we do. Right? I mean, my biggest thing is, nobody will ever have anything on me because I put it all out there.
yeah,
And so, for me, and I'm very much the same way with like you are. I love promoting others. I love people that deserve attention and props. I'll be the first one lining up, patting them on the back and promoting them to the best of my ability because I think it's so necessary. And I'm not afraid to do that. I'm not afraid to give a guy a hug, and I'm not afraid to have a tear with a brother, and I'm not afraid to promote the job for being good. And I don't know why there has to be a stigma with any of that. I don't know why people have to put their guard up. I think now more than ever, there's a lot of guard up. I don't know.
yes.
I think that people put their guard up though, because like the chief was talking about a little bit ago, like guys are putting their career and their own aspirations before they put up that brotherhood. And I mean, really, that's where it comes around to. Like, we wonder why people don't step up. We wonder why people don't do the right thing. And you said before about the mentors, like, do the young people have the mentors, or do they turn it into that pitch session? And I think that in that balance or in that mix in there is those bad seeds that get planted into the fire service for those who are looking for advancement, and it's kind of muddied the waters.
Yeah.
So, like, I think that's why that doesn't happen, because guys, not that they don't want to look weak, because I don't think that's really, I think we've done a really good job of kind of stamping that out in the fire service. I think that they're worried about getting screwed over in some way by being honest with people. Like, we look at a lot of the things that are going on today. We talk about mental health issues or suicide. And really, I look to myself and I go, like, well, is it just that, like, what is anybody afraid of to talk about? And where's the fear coming from? And Jeff Dill actually talked about it the other day with Firefighter Behavioral Health Alliance. He did a thing about, in these times with COVID-19 and everything, kind of having to reset and recharge. But he said, like, look at where anger comes from and fear and everything else. And I don't think we're, like, I don't say we're not honest, but like, there's a reason people aren't stepping up. And Mo, in your career, you've had guys come up to you and say, like, hey man, I'm having a hard time with this, chief or cap or whatever rank you were, and you knew those guys that you've mentioned in this podcast, you could always go up to them. But I'm not sure that that's happening, or not that it's not happening, but I think that, like, that self-advancement is getting in the way of that. And that's why, like, our work here is so important, because we've got to push that my career first and then everybody else. It should always be everybody around me first, and then and then me.
And I think you guys are doing a great job, because I follow you not only because we're friends, but I do follow you because of the good stuff. But if anyone is ever concerned about their career moving up and still being loved, look at Ray Downey. The guy went to the pinnacle of his career, and he was tough, and he fought for his guys, but he never gave in. And look what he accomplished.
Yeah.
And so if anybody,
great example,
research him. Just take a little while and research him and read him, and you will find that you can still be a fireman, you can still be tough, you can still love the job and reach a career point. And you know what? If I never go beyond where I do, and I'm okay with that, I don't aspire to be. I love what I'm doing. I can do more good here than I could up there. I never strive to be an assistant chief. I never strive to be a fire chief. I'm just a fireman. I'm just a fireman who's an older guy who took a test.
Love it.
So he could still stay on the job, So I have to tell you a funny story. So when I was on the rescue truck, a good friend of mine, Anthony Abbott's son, come on the job, and so he's our rookie. So he's cutting his first hole. So he's cutting his first hole in the fire department. So I'm going to watch. I'm not going to miss that. And go up the ladder. And so then before I could call his dad and brag on him, he called his dad and he goes, hey man, do chiefs normally get up there and watch you cut a hole? And he goes, who was it, Mo? He goes, yeah. He goes, man, you just have to get used to it. There's no way I would let his son cut his first hole with me not be happy for him, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, and somebody that's sitting in an office at a desk, they don't understand that.
No,
They don't
there's disconnect.
Yeah. And so he'll always remember his first goal and the big old fat guy that was there watching him. And I'm okay with that because you know what? That's what we do. And but guys need to get away from worrying about themselves. It's always the citizens, then the department and the guys, and then yourself. Hey,
Yeah.
you know, and you call anybody at my station today and they'll tell you I'm telling you the truth. I don't eat until every member there eats. I'll stand up and they'll all eat because they're the workers, not me. And so I eat after them because they're more important than I am there. And we have got to get officers believing that, you know, and I know some, you eat what they want to eat. They sit down first, you cater to them. No, that's not what it is. It's them than us. And we've got to get back to that.
That's go ahead, brother.
Just because this is something this has been on my mind ever since Portland, but like I'm just curious for you, for yourself, what is it that you look for in officers who are going to work in your district? Like if somebody has aspirations to come and work with Mo Davis as an officer, and then the same question back towards if somebody wants to be a fireman under Mo Davis in a district, like what are you looking for? What are the bullet points of what you want?
I want officers that are aggressive and that puts the citizens first, not themselves. And then I want that officer to take care of those guys at his station. You know, I say this, and I think this answers it better than I could, that if there's a problem at a station, it's the captain's fault. If there's a problem in the district, it's the district chief's fault. Then if there's a problem citywide, it's the chief's fault. So what you have to do is, as an officer, you have to be aggressive, and you have had to earn your way to that point. And it can't be one that'll just sit back and say, do as I say, not as I do. You have to be a doer as well. So then whenever you take that to a young guy coming off the tower or coming out of the academy, coming out there, you want to come there, you want to make fires. You know, I tell people, this is funny, but it's true. Have you ever heard of a used car salesman not wanting to sell a car? No. So I want to make fires. It is okay to want to make fires.
I agree.
And so I want that kid there. You know, I want that kid up at 10 or 11 o'clock at night studying. I want that kid down there on the fire. And then I also want that officer there with them. And that's what I want. When somebody comes to work with me, and I want them to love the job. And that's not asking too much, you know. And there's some that don't do it, but you know, for the most part, we still get that. But I just want the aggressive guy, and I want the guy that's not looking to better himself over his company. I want that company pride. I think everybody in that district should have district pride, but each station in that district should have that station pride. And by golly, you're not going to beat me. That's my knowledge. You know what I mean? It's okay to have that. And that's what I'm looking for in an officer. And, you know, guys call and say, hey, I'm thinking about coming over there. Well, you don't want somebody to come to a busy station just to make a name for themselves on the back of the fireman. You want to come over there and make a good name for themselves. You know, the Clifford Reeds at 25s. When you, in Houston Fire Department, if you hear station 25, you're going to think of a few people. Jim Morris was a chauffeur. You're going to think of Clifford Reed. You know, you're going to think of Eddie Hallis as a pipeman. That's what you want. You want to equate those good people to that station. And that's what I look for.
I love that because, you know, it's very true here, you know, in the Northeast where we are. I mean, it's just steeped in tradition. We have fire companies that are 200 years old or more, you know, and I mean, it's incredible, right? The history. But when you talk about, like, especially outside of New York City where I am, not 20 minutes outside of, you know, over across the George Washington Bridge to Manhattan, right? So, you know, when you talk about city firehouses, a lot of them are known, you know, they're ranked houses, if you will, as to how good they are and how busy they are. And then it always goes to the conversation of those couple guys that came from those houses. And they kind of set that tone of what level, how good that house is based upon who came out of that house, you know, and you know, and so on. And I love that. I think it's so important. I think you hit it right on the head. You know, it's one thing, I'm a firm believer in bettering myself, because if I'm good, my company's going to be good, right?
Yes.
But you also talked about, you know, you want them to better the company before themselves. And I agree with that. I think that everybody needs to work harder at the greater good, and then you worry about yourself on the back end, right? That if if you're constantly striving to make the bigger entity, the whole, better, you're inevitably going to make yourself better along the way.
Yeah.
Right. I'm a firm believer in that. And I think it's important because I go home or I'm not in the firehouse and those guys are hitting the asphalt. It's still me that's riding with them. Right. I mean, it's still all my input, everything that I did to my input into that company, or the junior guy that I instilled some values in. And he's taking care of it on the fire ground because of something I taught him for the better good of the company. Right. That company, that truck rolls up with a big 3 on the door, engine 3, right?
Yep.
You want that reputation. Engine 3 is here. They're going to work. You don't have to worry about them. It doesn't matter who's sitting in the seat.
That's it. That's it in a nutshell. And that's you can't ask for any more. You know, it's like rookies. You don't harass rookies. When rookies come to the fire station, you know you don't need a good janitor. You don't need a good dishwasher. You need a good fireman. So get them out of the kitchen, get them outside, and train them. Because whenever they leave somewhere else in the city, your name is on them.
Oh my God, I love that. Nobody ever talks about that. I mean, if you think about that, I mean, it's like, all right, kid, welcome to the firehouse.
Yeah.
Garbage is over there, bathrooms over there, you know, kitchen's over there.
Yeah.
You know, we'll get to you when we're ready.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You should take them to the pumper and say, here's where you're riding, and this is what we're going to do. Yes. And just start from there, from ground zero. You know, and I never got into playing those silly games, get ready in 2 minutes. Oh, it's silly. Teach them something. Teach them what this job's about. It's just, it's easy. Hey, you know, this is the easiest job in the world. The biggest thing you have to have is care and guts. Right? Holes and guts. And everything else is going to come in place.
I agree. So what's next for Mo Davis?
Man, I don't know. I just hope to keep doing this. You know, I never one day thought about retiring. I want to teach more, you know.
Yeah, that's good.
I love it, you know, and I love just getting out, you know, just spreading the word. We have a lot of people spreading a bad word on stuff. And so I want to come and, you know, and spread some things that I was taught. And, you know, Mo Davis didn't come up with all that. This class that I teach, it's not Mo Davis's class. It's the class that I was taught. And so all I do, I was telling my friends.
It's unbelievable. You're unbelievable.
Yeah, it's just
unbelievable.
Yeah. So I hope, you know, there's talk that I might get to come up that way pretty soon. I was talking to Aaron.
Yeah.
And, man, that guy's a good guy.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad you guys are getting mixed up. I like that a lot.
Yeah. Good things.
The more I talk to him, the better I like that guy. And that's what we need. And, you know, and I said this earlier, and I really believe it. Everybody in that class with us out there a few months ago, man, we're cut from the same mold.
Yeah.
We're just different departments, but we're the same person. You could put us all in a dark room and let us write on a piece of paper, and I bet you we're all going to say the same thing.
I believe it.
I believe it 100%.
So you might be coming up this way?
I think there was talk that that I might get to come up there. So, man, I'm hoping.
That'd be great. Well, if not, we got to get together. We do these events called On Taps, where we take over a bar, typically a brewery, and then we bring in a speaker and we throw a brotherhood event, bagpipes, music. We MC the thing, and then we do a lecture, or somebody does a presentation for 45 minutes, an hour or so. You know, kind of gets you out of the classroom, puts you in an informal setting, and really it promotes the best of the brotherhood, and so on. So we were supposed to be doing 5 of these this year. We have sponsorships behind it and everything and so on. But this thing is really, this coronavirus right now has really put a damper on things for us. But you are a guy on my radar that I would love to involve you in it and have you do one of ours. And I would be honored to get you in, and we'll talk about it and work out the details. But you are somebody that is truly on my radar. I think you have so much to offer, and I think so much good is coming from you and for the fire service, man. And I just, I'm excited for you. And that's why I asked what's next for Mo Davis, because I think everybody needs a little Mo Davis in their life. I really do.
Oh, yes.
It's a lot from you guys. I really do. You know, someone I look up to too. Hey, we're spreading the word. Right.
Cool.
Yeah, man, it means a lot. I'll be there.
Yeah. Good. I know. The conference has been, were you part of FDIC? Were you going to be at FDIC or?
I didn't get accepted, but I would still like to go out there. You know, even if I just went there and hung out, you know, I would like that.
That part of it is unbelievable. It's upsetting that got canceled already. Everything's canceled in this day and age. But we got to get. I'm a little concerned about this too. I'll be honest. I was talking about this the other night on another podcast we did. But real quick, I just want to get your take on it. I'm a little concerned with with all this quarantine and everything. It's giving an excuse for the fire service to separate. I'm a little nervous about the repercussions of all of this and what it's going to do to the fire service. I know, like, just on the volunteer end of things, like volunteer firemen aren't even allowed in their stations. I mean, you're destroying the camaraderie and the brotherhood that goes along with all of that, except for call response, and so on. But in the career service too, you have a lot of guys that are tapping out sick. You have a lot of departments that are missing a lot of guys. You have, I was talking to somebody the other day, their career departments, they have to go through checks and balances before they even get in the building. They have to go through screening. They have to go through one entry in. And then during meals and stuff, they all have to sit apart. Like, they can't even be a cohesive group.
It breaks my heart. I mean, we're better than that. We're better than that. And I don't care if you're a volunteer department. I don't care if you're a career department. I don't care if you're 10,000 or 100. You're a fireman. Mm-hmm. People let us be firemen. We're going to figure it out. And you know what? God forbid you get sick, and you were when you were in Texas. I'm still going to be around you. I am not going to separate myself from you. It's just like,
I didn't get anyone sick when I was down there, man. I was sick as a dog.
Yeah. And you know what? We'll get through this. And we'll look back. And I just hope the old guys take the young guys and bring them in and say, man, listen, hey, you know what? They murdered firemen on 9/11, and we came through it.
Damn right.
A little virus is not going to set us back that much. We're going to be okay. Yeah.
I like that.
If I get the flu for a week or two, I'll be all right.
Yeah, well, that's my point. I mean, that's my point of all this. But anyway, yeah, it's just a concern. It is a great concern.
You got to worry about it too. And we talked about that at the station, and everybody put their input in. And, if you're sick, if you're legitimately sick and you call off, hey, man, I'm good with that. But, man, just don't use it as an excuse. Man, we're just better than that. We're better than that.
I agree. Yeah. I agree. Rob, what do you got, pal? You're pretty quiet tonight.
Yeah, no, I'm just listening to a good conversation, man.
I know. Well, I can't thank you enough, man. We've been going for over an hour already. But
thank you. I really appreciate it. I think
I don't even think we scratched the surface tonight. I'm going to be honest with you. Yeah. And I would love to have you back on. I'd love to have you in the studio with us, because when we get to do the studio interview, there's just so much more emotion going on with it, and just the whole camaraderie of it. And we're doing a lot of these remote podcasts now, and it's just not the same. I mean, this has been fantastic, but we want to have you in the studio when you get up this way. We'll get you in. But I would love to spend some time with you, and
love it.
You got the stories to share, and your command class is fantastic. I think it's a refreshing view of firemanship and the command structure, and understanding that textbook is textbook, but experience is experience. And I think that conversation needs to happen more than it is these days. And I think you bring a lot of that to the table, and that's exciting.
Thank you so much. And hey, anytime, I'll be there, man. You just tell me, I'll be there.
That's fantastic. So Mo, where can we find you? You have a website? You have anything where people can find you, or your training? Or I know there's some YouTube clips out there of you.
Yeah, there's some YouTube, and Facebook is Mo Davis, and there's my Gmail is modavis68b, and guys can email me, call me anytime. I don't care if they want to talk fire. And we were talking earlier. If someone's having a hard time with something and they can't talk to anyone else, then call me. We'll get through it. I'll listen. So that's, and Instagram's modavis68b too, I think. So they can get away any way they can get a hold of me like that. They can get with you guys. You guys have my personal number. You're welcome to call me. And that's what we're for, man. It's a brotherhood. Yeah.
My man, I love it. I can't thank you enough for taking the time out tonight to spending some time. We haven't really chatted since we were together a couple months ago, but it's like we just saw you yesterday. And
I love it.
What I love about it. So listen, be safe. Thank you for joining us tonight, man.
Steve, thank you.
We'll get you back on again. And I wish you nothing but continued success with your career and everything you're doing, brother. And just keep spreading that good word, because, man, your smile is infectious, and I love it.
Appreciate it, man.
Thank you.
I'll see you guys soon.
You got it, brother. Take care.
Thanks,
Thank
Chief.
you so much.
Hey,
Thanks,
bye-bye.
Chief. Bye-bye.